Thank you, Raj. Paul Ramsey will finish up this lot. Many of you will be familiar with Paul. He was a FOSS4G chair in 2007. He is a geospatial consultant with OpenGeo and an expert in open source software. He's founder of the PostGIS database, and he's just retired as a director of the OzGeo Foundation. But what makes Paul really stand out is his regular, insightful, and often confronting opinions on the geospatial and the open source industry. I'm looking forward to what you have to say today, Paul.
Excuse me for one moment while I plug in. Yes, I am that guy who doesn't play along with everyone else. Here we go. All right. Thanks very much, everybody, for having me here. This is my first time in Australia, and it's been an amazing experience so far. I was originally expecting more of a culture shock coming from the Northern Hemisphere, and I prepared some custom Australian slides, but it turns out I was misled. The equipment is actually all compatible. Anyways, I have a problem, which I'd like to share with you, and it's not an uncommon problem. It's probably one that many of you share. My problem is I have a mother-in-law. And when we sit down at Christmas dinner, which is coming up, here's this question she asks. And it's a perfectly reasonable question for a mother-in-law to ask a son-in-law. She asks me, what is it that I do? What do I do? The subtext being, am I doing something that can be rationally expected to help support her perfect daughter and two darling grandchildren? And this is where things get difficult, because what I do is I sit in my office at the back of the house and I work on software that people are encouraged to download and deploy and use for free. She understands the programming part of it well enough, at least insofar as I sit in front of my computer and I type things on it, but the for free causes some serious discomfort. Because how does the perfect daughter, the darling grandchildren, get supported for free? Why am I confident that I can earn a living in my chosen field when my work product is free? Am I crazy, perhaps? Am I some kind of utopian hippie? Maybe not with son-in-law material at any event. Now, the proximate answer, and on a good night this will shut her down, is that I'm employed by a company, OpenGeo, that pays me to work on this software that we give away for free. Voila! But it doesn't take too much for her to see past that dodge. And by the second glass of wine, she'll come around again. So who pays OpenGeo for this free software? Who indeed? Because in the competitive marketplace full of beasts like Oracle, Apple, Microsoft, that picture of Steve Ballmer, how can something as warm and soft and fluffy and cuddly as an open source company survive? What is it exactly that we are selling? If you want to understand what open source companies are selling, it helps to understand what the existing proprietary vendors are selling. And here's the surprising part. They aren't selling software. They're selling products. Let me explain what I mean by that. In the business class of Crossing the Chasm, which I highly recommend, Jeffrey Moore says that in the technology adoption life cycle, which is traditionally understood as sort of a smooth passage from the small early market of visionaries and early adopters to the large mainstream market of pragmatists and conservatives, there is a little understood gap. In fact, a huge chasm between the small early markets and the big mainstream markets. And this chasm is there because the personalities of the customers in the early market are very different from the personalities of the customers in the mainstream market. Early adopters and visionaries have a high tolerance for risk. They like to do things themselves, and they don't need a lot of support. Here's the early adopter with the first iPhone that we bought. First day they were available. The mainstream customers are exactly the opposite. In order to prosper, growing software companies must cross this market chasm to gain access to the big mainstream markets. And to do so, Moore says they have to transition from just selling software into what he calls a whole product. Now, a young, naive technology company might say, hey, whoa, wait, but we have a product that's on this CD-ROM right here. But they don't have a product. They have software. What they have is salable in the early markets, but it's not salable in mainstream markets. The whole product has software at its core, but it adds in a critical layer of extra services and infrastructure around the outside. Things that reduce the risk or the perceived risk associated with adopting the product. Training courses, support infrastructure, resellers, consulting networks, update mechanisms, and so on. And it's the combination of the software with the added layer of valuable extras that make a compelling whole product. And only a whole product can move from that adventurous early adopter market into the risk-averse mainstream market. For example, as a piece of database software, Oracle is not all that compelling. It's kind of bulky, it's hard to learn, it's pretty easy to screw it up. But if you add in a 300-pound shelf of professionally written documentation, training to build a population of developers and administrators, a rich ecosystem of third-party tools, a reputable, if mercenary, company providing support, an evil genius, and deep integration with all the other elements of Oracle's software portfolio, you have a very compelling whole product. Now, here's the odd thing. It's really easy to see all the value that's offered in the whole product. There's tremendous value beyond the software itself. But our mental model of technology acquisition is still one in which we pay money for the software, and the vendor just throws in the rest of the whole product for free. All that great extra value for free, and this is where our cognitive dissonance about open source software companies comes from. Because what happens to that mental model when the cost of the software goes to zero? No company can give away the software for free and provide the rest of the whole product for free. Something has to give. So for the early adopters and technology visionaries, the people in the early market, and let's be honest, this audience is full of you people, there's no problem. They just use the software as is. And they take advantage of the thinner layer of support provided for free by the open source community. They don't need the whole product, and they probably never will. But what about the huge early majority and late majority? What's it going to take to get them to adopt open source software? The low price alone is not sufficient to seal the deal because the rest of the product is missing. The long-term business model for open source companies, the general proposition, is about providing that whole product suitable for mainstream customers, but changing the point of monetization. Instead of companies selling software and cross-subsidizing access to a free network of services for customers, we'll have customers selling services, a network of services, and cross-subsidizing the development of free software. This is precisely the Red Hat Linux model. Say you've got some open source software being developed on the internet, you've got Red Hat, and a risk-averse mainstream customer. He gives Red Hat money for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Red Hat uses that money to build a whole product and to fund open source development, wraps in value-added services, and gives it back to the customer as a whole product. Now, the customer could simply download the software directly, but then he wouldn't get the support, automatic upgrade,